Hey guys, from Alabama, California. We are Sean and Christy. This is Long Long Honeymoon, and in this video we're going to show you a place that I guarantee you have seen many times before, but you may have never heard of and probably have never been to. And I'm talking about the Alabama Hills near Lone Pine, California. The Alabama Hills has been the location for more than 400 major Hollywood motion pictures.
Long laundry list of movies that you totally would recognize, like The Lone Ranger, Bad Day at Black Rock, Iron Man, Django Unchained.
Some really bad Star Trek films.
And our namesake movie, The Long Long Trailer.
So what makes this area special, it's just strikingly beautiful and cinematic, and it's so exotic because of the presence of these incredible rock formations, Mount Whitney and the Sierra mountain range.
And Mount Whitney is actually the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states.
We've been camping here for the last several days with our friends Nader and Wendy.
My name is Wendy.
And I'm Nader.
And we've been camping side by side in one of the turnouts here in the Alabama Hills area. Now this is Bureau of Land Management land. It's not only free, you are free to enjoy it. Something I really enjoy about being on BLM land is the sense of freedom that you have. You know, the national parks are more busy, they're more crowded, and I guess for that reason they need to have more rules. But when you come to areas like this, you're going to be able to simply do a lot more.
Is that your house?
That is a happy dog.
Yeah.
We are very happy by the absence of choyas and other cacti, the pricklies that are typically an issue on all these desert destinations. This is definitely a great exception. Very dog and pet friendly indeed.
And especially if the dogs like to kind of climb up, and there are plenty of rocks for them to check out. And I would say children friendly as well. Definitely a very family friendly destination.
There are a lot of overlanders here, a lot of off-roaders who want to get out and ride their dirt bike or their razor or, you know, whatever kind of off-road vehicle they choose. Of course, you can camp just about anywhere you choose. Now, the road that leads into this area is called Movie Roads. And a lot of the locations where they've shot famous movies and TV shows and so forth, you can look up and you can go visit. There are also a number of natural arches in this area.
This place reminds me like a mini version Arches National Park. You look up, you can find all kinds of different arches, but probably on a smaller scale. You just keep your eyes open, you never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah, most of the arches are a little bit smaller in size, but they're really beautiful and unusual, and it's a lot of fun to hike out to them and do some photography.
Be careful.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't bust my butt. There really has not been much air pollution at all. So the visibility has been amazing here, even with my terrible eyesight.
Because we're here long past fire season, so we aren't dealing with any of that air quality issue. So it's been really beautiful while we've been here.
Not only has there been minimal air pollution, there is minimal light pollution around here. Certainly if you're into astrophotography, this is an incredible place to visit. The nearest town is called Lone Pine. It's a small town, but we did find a couple of nice restaurants down there. They have a hardware store. You can get your basic supplies. And they also have a great museum of Western movie history.
And it sort of gives you the rundown of all the movies that have filmed in this area really since the silent movies. They started back then in the 20s and they've worked their way through to modern day.
Movie Road is a little bit of a bumpy ride, but it's still big rig friendly. I would say there are elements of the road that are kind of washboard in nature.
Yeah, but it's nothing that you couldn't drive pretty much any type of RV down. We've seen Class A motorhomes out here, huge fifth wheels, of course, Class B and Class C's, and lots of Airstreams like ourselves. So there is room for everybody. And then of course, if you have a more rugged vehicle with higher clearance, there are even more options for you because you can go down some of the less developed roads and find even more camping options.
Yeah, if you're a tent camper, this is an incredible destination. We've seen people pitching tents all over the place out here.
So you gotta love a campsite where you can wake up in the morning and this is your view from bed. Not bad.
There are no designated campsites, and I kind of love that personally, because you can just come back in here, scout around, and just pick the site that works for you. Now, when we first came in, because our friend's rig is a little bit smaller and more nimble than ours, we let them sort of move ahead and scout out a good place.
But if you didn't want to do that, right when you turn onto Movie Road, there are actually a couple of large turnout areas where you could unhitch your RV if you're towing something, and then just drive your tow rig in to sort of scout things out and then come back and get your camper.
If you're into rock climbing, and specifically, I believe they call it bouldering, we've done a little bit of bouldering over the course of these past few days, and I actually really love the terrain around here. The earth is kind of soft but firm, and it's not like a fine sand, so it's pretty good to hike in. And these boulders have an interesting texture to me that's sort of a rough texture that makes pretty good traction when you're grabbing with your hands, or preferably with your gloved hand.
The ground here almost reminds me of something called chert. If you have ever built a road, you know what that is, but it's sort of like a really fine gravel, and a lot of these rock formations are sort of made up of that material. So if you are going to go hiking and climbing around on these rocks, bringing a pair of gloves is a really good idea.
Okay.
Inside looks cooked fully through.
Well, maybe we'll just leave them the way it is.
Well, I'm just gonna quickly reverse it.
Now we're here in late November. We actually enjoyed one of the most unique and memorable Thanksgiving dinners we've ever had in our Airstream, because the first night we arrived here, it was very windy.
It was extremely windy. In fact, I would tell you, if you're coming to visit, make sure that you bring some wind-proof jackets, because when you're outside, it's pretty strong winds. I think it was like 20 to 30 mile an hour winds the night we arrived.
I think it's probably a roll of the dice, but due to the lay of this terrain, they do have very strong winds from time to time.
So also take that into account when you're parking your RV, because if you can park where the wind will sort of go the length of your RV rather than hitting up against the side of it, I think it'll be a much more pleasant sleep, because your RV won't be rocking side to side with those strong winds.
Nader actually mentioned there are some parking spots back here and or campsites that are sheltered by some of these rocks. So if you can find an advantageous site, the rocks may protect you from the bulk of that wind.
If you get here and you're fortunate enough for it to not be super crowded, take your time to find a spot that is sort of sheltered by those rocks, because it'll make a big difference.
The weather has been pretty beautiful overall. It's getting a little bit chilly at night, but we've had some great times dining out by the campfire. Once those winds settled down, I think the Alabama Hills is a great example of a hidden gem. Truly one of the most spectacular areas from a scenic standpoint you're ever going to find. It's free. It's low hassle. You can just come in, pick a site, and enjoy. and stay pretty much as long as you want. I'm sure that there is an eventual time limit, maybe it's 14 days or whatever the Bureau of Land Management has decreed, but it's just no hassle. There's no check-in time, there's no check-out time. It's really kind of a best case experience for RV camping in North America.
It is, but there are a couple of things to remember before you get here. There are no dump stations anywhere here in this vicinity. You're gonna have to go into the town of Lone Pine and either pay a private campground to use their dump facility or use a dump facility at a couple of the local state or county parks that are here. And the same thing goes for freshwater.
All right, if you're planning your trip here, just bring two things: wind cover or wind protection and plenty of water, because there are absolutely no water resources.
And actually a couple of the local campgrounds that are the county parks don't even offer fresh water. So depending on the time of year you're here, if you're here in the wintertime, probably gonna have a hard time finding fresh water. You'll have better luck the rest of the year, but it's just something that you need to plan for before you arrive, because once you're here, there's nothing.
And also don't expect really well labeled hiking trails and sites. There isn't a whole lot of signage. I mean, there are a few signs that will steer you in the right direction, but it will be helpful to do some research beforehand so you kind of know locations and the arches that you want to go visit, so you can already have them downloaded to your phone or GPS.
Yeah, this is the famous sort of arch trail, which is kind of the network of hiking trails and a little bit of, I guess, dirt road that kind of makes up a loop. So we have a couple of arches to visit here.
With regards to cell service, we have AT&T as a carrier, and at our current campsite we have no service, but the closer we get to the main road we do get some service, and we are able to look at maps, etc. from there. But it is a good idea to go ahead and download some of those maps. You can also stop in town and pick up some of the maps for the area from the Bureau of Land Management, and it'll give you a rough idea of the roads and the big trails that, you know, are kind of key points of interest.
Yeah, we really have been mostly shut off from the internet here. We have no cellular coverage at our actual campsite. We've been using our walkie-talkies. They've been working great. This is a good example of why you need a pair of walkie-talkies with you when you're out RV traveling. If you want to get away from a lot of the stress and the negative energy that you're exposed to in any kind of urban environment or just in the world today, this is an ideal place to come relax, drop your anchor, and stay for a while. And that's what we've done, just enjoying beautiful views, great food, and wonderful company. So I would highly recommend the Alabama Hills. It's really suitable for just about any RV out there. To really enjoy your RV and get the most out of it, you need to break out of that full hookup mentality, be willing to go down the dirt road, and you will be rewarded with some of the best camping experiences of your life.
Yeah, and if you're somebody that isn't comfortable dry camping for long periods of time, you could always come and spend, 2 nights here and then go into town to an RV park, get your full hookups to recharge all your batteries, empty and refill all of your water tanks, and then come back out for 2 more nights, so you don't have to commit to a full week of dry camping if you aren't set up for that or you're just not comfortable with it.
If you're into the overlanding scene, you'll be in heaven out here.
Yeah, people are riding off-road vehicles like a Razor or Jeeps. They're on dirt bikes, mountain bikes with sort of the big fat tires so that they can ride through the sandy areas. So there's a little bit of everything out here, so you have to keep your eyes open. That would be fun.
Yeah, it would. As many of you may know, we both hail originally from the state of Alabama. And this place had always been on our radar. Every time I heard someone mention the Alabama Hills, I knew eventually we would have to check it out.
Yeah.
If you're curious about the history of the area, it was actually named by prospectors back in the 1800s after the Civil War era battleship, the CSS Alabama.
Yeah, it's a place that we'd heard about briefly here and there from different people. And I think we didn't really know how beautiful it would be once we got here, but I'm really glad we came because it's definitely definitely worth a visit. The scenery is incredible. And I think even if you aren't into hiking or you don't want to do any sort of bouldering, if you just set out a chair and read a book and enjoy the scenery, I think it'll be worth a visit just for that.
Listen to all the noise around here. The sound of silence is deafening.
So that's it, guys, a look at the Alabama hills. This has certainly been a highlight of our camping travels in 2020, although this year has had its ups and downs.
To say the least.
This has definitely been an up. So we want to thank Nader and Wendy for suggesting that we come visit. It has been a fantastic experience. And by the way, Alabama defeated Auburn today in the Iron Bowl. So I think it's very serendipitous. It was meant to be.
You know what I have to say to that?
You gonna flash everybody? What is this, Mardi Gras?
War Eagle. War Eagle. Even though we lost, still an Auburn fan at heart.
The Crimson Tide has steamrolled forward. Kind of mixed metaphors there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the tide is steaming forward. What? Are you boiling in a pot somewhere?
With a herd of elephants. And we want to send out a get well soon wish to Coach Nick Saban.
Yeah, for sure.
Who missed the game. They won one for the Nick. Sorry guys, thanks as always for tuning in. This has been yet another episode of Long Honeymoon, the longest running channel on YouTube about RV camping. And we still haven't figured it out.
Yep, we're still learning.
So thanks as always. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, yada, yada, yada. Until next time, what do we say? We say, LOLOHO.